Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of our/am I the butthole. Am I the butthole for taking an Uber to a wedding so I wouldn't be late? My sister got married last weekend. I flew into town and my parents insisted that I stay with them instead of a hotel like I wanted. My parents are consistently late for everything. I think it's a Latin thing. I hate being late. I think it's disrespectful. The wedding was at 2:30. My folks live about half an hour from the church. Noon rolls up and my folks aren't even getting ready yet. They are adults and I am over dealing with them. I get ready. I send for an Uber and I am at the church for 2 o'clock. I check in with my sister. She asks me if I had any problems getting my parents to church. I told her that I came by myself. She pulled my weight and said that I was responsible for getting them there on time. Well, nobody asked me to do that. I didn't even want to stay there. So now everyone starts calling my parents. They are getting ready. They were about 35 minutes late. The service was shortened because there was another wedding later that day. Everyone is still mad at me for not getting my parents there on time. My aunt said that I'm an butthole for messing up the timing of the wedding. My mom says it's my fault for not reminding them to get ready. Am I the only one who thinks adults should be able to be on time for their own kid's wedding without help? Next story. Am I the butthole for not wanting my husband to go to his ex's funeral? I'll admit I'm biased right off the bat. I couldn't stand her. I call her his ex to myself and others. He called her his friend. We're all in our early 40s. She died recently, aneurysm. I've been with him 10 years now, but he'd known her for 20 plus. The way he tells it, they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, then realized they weren't a great couple and decided to just be friends. All that happened years before I met him. He was clear early on that she was important. A couple months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife. He explained the above to me, saying she was one of his closest friends and that it was purely platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to an ex, and he told me that's fine. If you have a serious issue with it, let me know now and save us some time. I'll choose her. I like you and all, but I've known her for over 12 years and she's one of the most important people in my life. You'll have to be okay with that if you want us to be a thing. When we were engaged, I asked again. He gave me this perplexed look and asked, why would us getting married affect my friendships? I sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social. She understood some part of him I couldn't. Her husband was friends with mine as well, so it's not like I could use him as an angle. He'd have lunch with the ex, they'd go to their geeky movies, and whatever. The few times I brought it up, he said we had this conversation before. You had your chance to back out. She died after they had lunch the other day on the way to her car. He spent a bunch of time crying, but honestly I was relieved. He was working with her husband on funeral planning. I told him, you don't think you're going, do you? My argument, summed up, she's dead, so she's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use his she's my friend excuse since she doesn't exist anymore. He had his cry for a couple days, he gets to be done with mourning her already. There's no need for him to go to her funeral, since I wouldn't want her at his. He was the angriest I've ever seen him when I told him that, replying that he'll be going no matter how I feel, and that he's willing to burn this to the ground while holding up his wedding band. Besides you, she was the closest friend in my life. Him, her husband and my sisters are calling me an insensitive butthole over this, all saying that there was no romantic aspect to their relationship, and that I'm heartless. Her husband went so far as calling me a ghoul for how I've reacted. I never felt their relationship was appropriate, and I hid that for years because I wanted to be with my husband. Now that she's gone, I don't feel I should have to hide it anymore, and can speak freely. Am I the butthole for just wanting him to be done with her, and for him to not attend the funeral? Next story. Am I the butthole for throwing away the expensive whiskey my brother got me for my 40th? I'm 40-year-old man, just turned 40 last week. I'm divorced and have 2 teenage kids with my ex-wife, 17-year-old boy and 14-year-old girl. My whole family came to mine and my girlfriend's apartment last Saturday for my birthday party. My parents, some aunts and uncles, some cousins, my 3 brothers with their families, my 2 kids, and my girlfriend's 15-year-old son who lives with us. I am a recovered alcoholic. I've been sober for 6 years now. Alcohol absolutely ruined my life. It destroyed my marriage and nuked my relationship with my kids for years. I don't allow alcohol in my home now, for anyone. It just isn't served or tolerated here. My entire family knows this very well, as they know my entire history with alcohol. For my 40th, my brother bought me a very expensive bottle of whiskey. It had writing on it, a very heavy bottle and very old whiskey, so it probably cost him a couple $100. When he gave me the bottle, I was shocked and said I don't drink, but thanks for the gift. He then opened the bottle and started pouring shots in plastic cups for everyone. My daughter had a panic attack at the smell of the alcohol, which I am painfully aware is my fault and I will never forgive myself for it, so I told my brother to take the alcohol out on the balcony and just leave it there. He wouldn't do it and took a shot of the whiskey. I told him to seriously stop it and he proceeded to pour the whiskey. He then said I am acting like a sober saint now, when I ruined everyone's birthdays for years with my drinking. I told him to come to the hallway with me and talk it out. He refused and put a glass of whiskey in my hand. I took the trash can, threw the whiskey bottle in it and the plastic cups, and took the trash out. My brother then stormed off and my mom followed him. She later called me, demanding an apology for disrespecting my brother like that. My dad said I was being overly sensitive, and some of my other family members also agree. Am I the butthole here? Next story. Am I the butthole for not giving our granddaughter the same wedding gift as our other grandchildren? I am 70-year-old woman grandmother to 5 wonderful grandkids, 3 women and 2 men. The last of my grandkids got married last October. My husband, 70-year-old, and I usually get them a small gift, usually the cheapest thing on the registry. Then the day before the wedding, we privately gift them a check for $40,000. We prefer that they use it for a house, but we don't force them to do so. We also ask them to keep it private. We have a big extended family, and we don't want them to expect it from us. They all honored this request. When it came to our youngest granddaughter, we bought her an air fryer. That was the cheapest thing on the registry, and sent it in advance. Then she called us furious. She went off on us for being cheap and how she knew we had money, but that we did not love her enough to show it by getting her something more expensive. We were horrified by her behavior. Then she went ahead and threatened to disinvite us if we didn't get her a better gift. We discussed it, bought her a china set, but we did not give her the money that was set aside for her. We decided that she did not deserve it. Fast forward to last week, she met up with her brother, they got to talking and she found out about the cash gift that he got. She asked her cousins and found out all of them got the same gift. She called us furious for discriminating against her. We told her that it was our money, and after how she behaved, we did not want to give it to her. She started crying, said that she was just extremely stressed, and that we shouldn't have taken it to heart. We told her that we stand by our decision. Now she is refusing to attend Christmas, and her mother, our daughter-in-law, is calling us buttholes. So, am I the butthole for not giving our granddaughter the same wedding gift as our other grandchildren? Next story. Am I the butthole for saying I won't come to Christmas at my in-laws if I can't wear a hat? For context, I am 25-year-old woman got married in November. My mother-in-law doesn't really like me, even trying to steal the spotlight at my wedding, but is still overly traditional. At Thanksgiving, I was having a really bad hair day, so I wore a black leather cap, a dressier newsboy-style one, which my husband said looked great on me. The holiday was hostile, even more so than prior gatherings I'd been to, and hubby said mother-in-law said it was because I wore a hat, but I know it was just an excuse. I told mother-in-law I wouldn't come to Christmas with them, then blocked her number and Facebook. My husband is trying to keep us both happy since he doesn't like conflict. He wants me to come to one more celebration to see if maybe people are getting used to me. He's told mother-in-law she needs to be nice and treat me as part of the family since I am, and that if I feel unwelcome at Christmas like I did at Thanksgiving, that we won't attend future events and she see him much anymore. I understand why he wants me to give her one final chance and haven't had any conflict with him. Marriage is about compromise, and I get that he doesn't want to cut her off since she's his mother, but I just don't want to be involved with her unless I have to be. I wanted to see if mother-in-law was listening to him, so I asked my husband to request that I be allowed to wear the same hat to Christmas. Hubby said he thought I'd worn it since I had a bad hair day, but this time it's as a statement that they shouldn't treat me as an outsider either because I wear hats all the time. Right now it's just a sports visor, which I'd never wear to a holiday, so it's not like I'm doing that, or they just don't like me. If they won't let me wear a hat, what else are they going to restrict about me? Let me be me or I won't come. Period. My husband agreed and relayed this to mother-in-law, and she's been asking him why he married the devil. He's growing tense with me, and I told him he'll probably have to pick a side sooner or later and that I never intended it that way. He spent last night at a friend's house because he needed to think. I feel bad because I care about him and no conflict stresses him out. I told him to text me when he was ready to talk. He hasn't yet. My friends think that my hat request was unnecessary, and maybe I strained my relationship with my husband. I think he just needed space to think because conflict stresses him out, so I gotta ask, am I the butthole for saying I won't come if I don't wear a hat? I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.